The honourable member for Foothills.
Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister tell me if he is beginning consultation on a tariff on urea?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'll ensure that the appropriate minister follows up with this matter.
The honourable member for Foothills.
Well, I guess we now understand why the Liberals are refusing to answer questions on a fertilizer tariff, because they have no idea what we're talking about. In fact, stakeholders in meeting with ministers have been told that the Liberals had no idea that Canadian farmers actually purchased fertilizer from Russia. Now we're the only country in the world that has a tariff on fertilizer, and our producers are the ones who are paying the price. But typical Liberals, let's impose punishing policy first, and let's ignore the devastating results afterwards in that fallout. So will the Prime Minister exempt the 35% tariff on Russian fertilizer purchased before March 2nd?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine has required us to step up on sanctions to punish Vladimir Putin and those who've supported and enabled his war. We know that countries around the world are facing hardships because of limits on Russian exports, and we've committed to being there to support Canadians who are facing these difficulties, whether it's the Evraz employees, whether it's farmers on the East Coast who depend more on Russian fertilizer than those on the West Coast. We are going to be there to continue to support Canadian farmers through this difficult time.
Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, the seeding season is upon us and our farmers are worried. Since last autumn, the price of fuel and fertilizer has more than doubled and continues to rise under the neoliberal government with an inflation rate of 6.8%. Moreover, does this government not realise that the 35% tariff it imposes upon our farmers does not even penalise Russia in the first place? It only serves to cripple our farm families and double the cost of production of our Canadian food. When will the Prime Minister finally stand up for our Canadian farmers? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. We strongly condemn the unjust and illegal war conducted by Vladimir Putin in Ukraine. We know that fertilizer is essential for Canadian agriculture, and we continue to work with industry. Our government now allows producers to have access to $1 million in the anticipated payment program, the first tranche of $100,000 of which is without interest. Our government continues to support Canadian producers and farmers by giving them access to various programs that are here to help them to hedge and counter loss of revenue.
Lethbridge.
Because of this government's reckless spending, Canadians are becoming poorer and poorer by the day. That's because inflation has now reached a record of 6.8%. Groceries are up by 10%, gas is over $2.30 a litre in parts of Western Canada, and housing prices have doubled. Sadly, these realities don't seem to register with the Prime Minister because, well, someone else foots his bills. So would he please demonstrate just a little bit of humility today, try to put himself in the shoes of working-class Canadians, and will he stop the out-of-control spending that is condemning the Canadian people to a life of poverty?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We know families across this country and Canadians are facing increased prices at the pumps and at the grocery stores, and that's why we've continued to move forward in ways that have their backs. Unlike the Conservatives who voted against our measures on supporting families, we move forward with early learning and childcare program that, as I announced in Newfoundland and Labrador yesterday, will save average families about $5,000 in their bills this year. These are investments that will support families right across the country. Now that every single province and territory, including the Conservative ones, have signed on to our early learning and childcare framework, families are going to save thousands of dollars this year across the country.
Hear, hear.